You're here. I'm so glad that you've come across to learn what is Clary Sage essential oil good for the emotional, mental and spiritual bodies. And of course, safety and blending too. We mustn't forget that. So this video is going to really focus on our cards. These are the Tongue of the Trees cards, made by myself and a Hungarian aromatherapist called Gergely Halodi. And together we created these cards as a means of bypassing the conscious mind and talking to the emotional and spiritual bodies. So we did touch on it before, that the key word is clairvoyance. The physical medicine, obviously, you just have to get it again. The physical medicine obviously talks about the hormones. And I did say that we talk about intuition and how the hormonal balance helps us to see things more clearly. So if you go on to buy the cards, please go on and buy the cards. Pay my bills. It comes with a little book, and the book has a poem, and then underneath are other pieces of information about the oil. So let me read you the poem first, because I think it's interesting to feel how she speaks. And the poems are a strange thing, because I didn't deliberately write poems, just it all came through in poetry. So some plants are good poets, others not so much, but she's not bad. It says, double, double, toil and trouble, incense burn and cauldron bubble, menstrual torture, come here, huddle. Breathe, Clary Sage, and thoughts unmuddle. Thoughts and ideas, mental processing flows clearer, much faster where Clary Sage goes. When the moon gazes brightly fall down on the land, mood remains steadier in the palm of my hand. For clear sight is mine in betwixt and between. Your moods, your thoughts, the worst and best I have seen. For knowledge I impart, child, is balance and poise. When your mood is screaming and your head's full of noise. Seeing to the heart of a problem is my right. Sklaria's my name, for I bring you clear sight. Sit gently beside me, leave anger and spite, for hormonal balance is my gift and your right. So it's a bit early to see, but eventually these flowers will all turn to seed. And medieval medicine would use the seed when you got something in your eye, put it in the eye, and the mucilage would collect all of the debris that was left in there. So if you've got a fragment of something, some dust or something, it would move it out. Hence the name Sclaria, meaning clear sight. But we've already talked about the emotional balance that you get. Now on the booklet, we've listed the planetary rulership, as well as the traditional Chinese medicine and the Ayurvedic. But what's interesting is we can go further than that in this video. So the first thing is that it's traditional Chinese medicine is fire and wood. So it's easiest to understand Chinese medicine through the context of the seasons. So if we think that wood is the time when everything grows and branches out in the spring, and it helps, imagine that you are a tree and your arms are branching out and you become more social, you reach out into the world. Yeah, so we can say that on a emotional level we become more open, more sociable, more able to speak to people, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But just more chattery, you know. We've imagined that in the winter we've been snuggled down by the fire, and then for me, I always go out to see all the big gardens in the spring, you know, as the tulips come out and it's the sun's out, we all feel much more positive. That is the feeling imbued by the plant. Then it also is fire. So fire is the sunshine, the time of the summertime, the time when we are most, I would say happy but buoyant, you know, very social. We spend lots of time outside, hopefully hands in the earth. It's a time just before the harvest. Now, this is extremely important psychological medicine. The earth is the time of the harvest, the time of abundance. But we have to have worked hard at the spring and the summer to be able to bring our fruits to harvest. Because let's think about it in a couple of contexts. When the winter comes, if we haven't had a harvest, we're going to starve. So that might mean the corn. It might mean the apples on the tree. But it also might mean that we feel like we haven't made many friends. We haven't ever settled down with anybody. We haven't been successful in life. The summertime is the time where it says, this is the time you should be living your dream, right? So think about that from the point of view of how drunk it gets you, how euphoric it is. You feel the sunshine in the euphoria, you know, think outside parties and, you know, later evenings, the wood burners going, we're all a bit drunk, maybe smoking something we shouldn't, just having a really good time. Medicine of the plant. Very interesting. Now it says it balances Vata, Pitta and Kapha. So Vata is things that are dry, things that are brittle, things that are nebulous. When we have an excess of Vata, we have confused thoughts, you know. But it also balances Pitta, which is greasiness and hot and spite and angry, and Kapha, which is being too sedentary, gluey, things that are thick and stable and stagnant. So all in all, it has a very balancing action. And where do we get that balancing action from? We get it from the hormone balance, don't we? So very interesting on that level. But what's interesting is we have taken the planetary medicine, and it's completely different planetary medicine to what I would normally say, because plants can have many, many rulers. So first of all, in the book, we talk about how it's ruled by Saturn. Saturn is strength of the bones, but chronic stuff. Saturn is also known as Cronus. Cronus is this root word of chronic. Chronic means long and lingering. So chronic pain, you know, very good for chronic stuff. Also good for Jupiter, Jupiter medicine. Jupiter is expansion, authority, stress, anger. Yes, we can see how that would work. Also ruled by Aquarius. Aquarius is really the how other people see you, the very clever intellectual stuff, you know. But the main rulers, I feel, of Clary Sage are the moon and Mercury, and they work together very, very well, moon and Mercury. So moon rules the emotions and Mercury rules thoughts, ideas, data, information flow, teacher-student archetype. So we can see how these are thoughts, you know, whereas moon is feelings, but also the unconscious mind. So when we're working together, we can see how there is this intuition, this branching out, this wood medicine of branching out, and tendrils. I feel like Pan when I do that, you know. The tendrils are seeking. If you read the poem that was given to me about Galbano, it says, see without eyes, listen without ears. And that definitely is Clary Sage stuff, you know. And Mercury is so good at downloading information all of the time. So when you're working with Mercury, with Clary Sage, you do get these downloads. What else might you think you might get? Well, if you've been drinking, you're going to get the dreams. I'm telling you, you're going to get the dreams and hallucinations. But that's the Mercury stuff coming through. Very interesting. So extremely good for scrying. Raises intuition generally. If you look at how it vibrates, what's its colour? Its colour's blue. Doesn't it go nicely with my top? I'm so pleased with this. It vibrates on the colour blue, so anything that is blue is healing. It's a very mesmerically healing oil. It's hypnotic, like roses, you know. You kind of just get drawn into, I just can't stop smiling. It's the smell of the oil, you know. It's going right to my brain. See how I almost look dizzy with it? It is the oil. It's going to have this. It's going to have to go out the room when I'm finished. I've got to get serious in a minute. But also, yeah, Mercury retrograde, obviously, because it's ruled by Mercury. Everybody knows we don't sign contracts because things go wrong in Mercury retrograde. Everything breaks, everything feels slow, the ideas are confused. If you are stressed by Mercury retrograde, you need some Clary sage in your life. And of course, main associated chakra, brow chakra. So I'm going to come back in a minute, but I want you to have a look. I'm going to show you the slides of what I have talked about. Then I'm going to show you a video of the spread so that you can see it laid out. If you watch these videos often, it's the same video. So feel free to skip forward and we will talk about the safety of the oil. I'm going to run through a quick layout for you to show you the different cards. Now, one of the things that we're not going to tell you in this video, in these videos, is the poem that goes with the cards. But for this layout, we will read them to you just so that you get a chance to sort of feel how the different poems look. So I thought I'd show you the cards. As you can see, lovely little box. I'll show you the other side. Boring stuff, except for cool stuff what I read. Okay, so if we open it up, we can see that the cards just have one logo on, and that is because these originally were Gegle's cards. He's been selling these for a long time in Hungary. Mostly they've been bought by kinesiologists, interestingly enough. They've been doing the energy work with them. They haven't got any aromatherapy background, but they've been able to tap into the energetics of the oils to be able to move emotional blockages. So let's show you. So these come out nice and easy because we've got beautiful little ribbons. And let's get rid of that. So if I said to the cards, what energy do I need? What oils will help me do the best job with these videos? Let's have a... Now my friend Belinda used these the other day and she does have a habit of shuffling them the wrong way. So we'll have to hope that they're all the way right up. I'm not doing a good job of keeping them that way. So let's have a look. What do I need to do a great job? So I think, it's up to you how you do it, but I think cut it 3 ways, cut it back. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So first 3 cards off the top. Cedarwood Virginian. I'll tell you why I'm laughing at that in a minute. Got rose and lavender. That's a beautiful blend, isn't it? Reason why I was laughing about a Cedarwood Virginian is when Gegle and I came to do the notes of all the different cards, we both went, oh, we've done these cards for Cedarwood Virginian and I don't really know how to explain them differently. And because I was doing lots of editing work, I went, oh, just leave it. So yesterday I did a meditation with Cedarwood Virginian and got the most beautiful, beautiful work out of it. So you must tap into that tomorrow, have a listen to that video and see it was really different stuff that came out. So let's have a look. So if we go to the book, we can see that there's a brown streak on cedarwood, and that tells us it's the woods. So we find the woods. Slowly but surely we find the woods. At the back. Okay, so I'm going to use the other cards just to cover up the other pages, because you know what, sooner or later you're gonna have to pay me for something. Yeah. So Cedarwood Virginian, actually I'll show you this, but I'll read it to you because I'm hoping that it doesn't turn back to front on you, but it may well do. So Cedarwood Virginian says, hold strong. Don't be swayed by the winds of change around you. Stand tall. Resist the temptation to listen as the naysayers surround you. Keep focused on the job you have in hand. Remain strategic. Don't veer from tactics you've planned. Listen intently to information on the breeze. Remain determined. Your courage is what makes me pleased. Hold strong. Don't be swayed by the winds of change around you. Stand tall. Resist the temptation to listen as the naysayers surround you. Keep focused on the job you have in hand. Remain strategic. Don't veer from tactics you've planned. Listen intently to information on the breeze. Remain determined. Your courage is what makes me pleased. And I'd forgotten, I stopped halfway through because I'd forgotten this is the only one that went like around. It kept repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. And that taps in beautifully to the determination, doesn't it? I'm keeping on reminding you. I'm keeping on reminding you. I'm keeping on reminding you. So, and actually, definitely watch the video on Cedarwood Virginian, because you'll see just how spooky that is when you see the meditation work I did. Now, you'll also see on here at the bottom of the page, there's the energetics. Now, we're not going to talk about these energetics at all in the video. You might want to go and buy our knowledge base. Now, the knowledge base is completely based on this, and it is a set of lessons on each of the aspects. So, middle to base. You're going to hear about that today when Gergely does his blending. So, that's there. It also vibrates on the throat chakra. So what does that mean? Within the knowledge base, there is a complete set of information about the different chakras. We do as a lecture on each different chakra, how it affects on the emotional body, how it affects the physical body, how it affects the mental and spiritual bodies, and how that's working. So when we're looking at the knowledge base, this information here describes how the energies move through the system. What energy shift has taken place that we are getting these different physical problems and mental issues. So we can see that Cedarwood Virginian operates on the water element and the earth element. And again, in the knowledge base, there's a complete section about, we talk about the about half an hour about the water element, then again about half an hour for the earth element, metal, fire, and whatever the other one is, gone out of my head. And then here we can see Sagittarius. Now, so that tells us that what planetary rulership it comes under. This is medical astrology, and this is actually how I see the different energetics playing out. Some people see it through the Ayurvedic, some people see it through Chinese medicine. This is always the lens I see it through. And usually we'll talk about how it's ruled by the moon or the sun or Saturn and the different trends that we see out. And when we look at an archetype like that, it's like, Jade Shoots always says, it's like a metaphor, and that's a great analogy of how you can see the thread playing out right across the medicine. And so you can see that Cedarwood Virginian is Sagittarius. So in the knowledge base, we talk about the different signs and planets and also the different houses. if I remember right, Angelica, for example, falls under the Pisces Aries cusp. So that's really quite a difficult one to understand. There's a whole lesson about the Pisces Aries cusp. And then again, Chinese medicine, it nourishes yin. What does that mean? What does it mean? It calms Shen. Shen is an interesting phenomenon all in its own right. It's the consciousness, our mental faculties, our imagination, our emotions, God with a small g, God with a big G. All of those aspects is a complete lesson about Shen and how the essential oils can affect it and change that to move the energy. And then we can see increases Pitta, reduces Vata, balances Kapha. So it's interesting, actually. I do know at the moment all of my oils tend to come out with earth energy. It's quite interesting hearing me do the earth energy lecture because it's entirely about the challenges I am facing at the moment. But if you are somebody who sells essential oils and you're looking for a way in all of the time, right? You're talking to the person at the school gate, for example, and you can see, she seems a healthy girl, to be honest. She's loving her kids, she seems happy. Imagine somebody who's got a really sing-song voice all the time. Oh, my darling, how did you get on today? Was it lovely? I know. And then child walks off. How are you? To everybody. If that sing-song voice never quite relents, then you can imagine that there's an earth energy imbalance. So any oils that fall under earth energy are good ones to sell. So yeah, if you are interested in learning more about that, ways in, just kind of being able to see, talking to somebody, what might be clues of what's going on of that energetic shift, then head over the knowledge base to have a look at that. So what was our next card? It was Rose, wasn't it? Queen of Roses, as you know. I do love my roses. Let's have a look. So the flowers, I think, are at the front of the book, if I remember rightly. Beautiful pink. Oh, we're both flowers, aren't they? So rose, rose, rose. Damask rose. I was thinking we'd miss Rose out, but it's not under Duff for Rose. It's under, sorry, it's not Rough for Rose. It's Duff for Damask rose. I remember writing this one, actually. This is quite sad. So it says, standing by your graveside or sobbing into your pillow. I know your pain. On the days when you feel lonely, worried or sad, I know your pain. Through the nights where sleep seems far away and you feel like you might break, amidst the anger, the confusion and desolation, I feel your pain. For I was there, remember? When you smelled the roses of their love as your fingertips stroked my petals and tried to avoid the prick of thorn. I felt your hopes, your fears, your joy of deep connection. I ensnared it in my scent to help conjure that affection. In my fragrance, remember hope. Let my aroma you complete. May scent of celebration heal you, calm you and help you sleep. For through me you are never alone, always loved and open to give and receive more. Smell me, open up and feel safe to feel love once more. Now I anticipate that these will be different for everybody, but that's entirely my dad talking to me. I feel quite choked up reading that, actually. When he died, he gave me a rose bush. My cousin works for a rose bush company, David Austin Roses. I'm sure you've heard of them. He's quite a senior manager there, and Dad arranged for a rose called Noble Anthony to be given to me and my sisters at the funeral. So I go and sit and talk to the rose bush. That's a great reminder that my dad's with me today. So that actually, Dad, that really helps. Thank you. So let's have a look at the energetics. We can see middle heart chakra, obviously. Water. Now, again, as I say, in the knowledge base, there is a much bigger lecture on water, but the energy of water is how it can flow around any obstacle and find a way to fill the space. So that's great. That's lovely. And Venus is obviously the planet of love, but there's lots more to do with beauty and and money. Actually, there's an interesting lecture on Venus. I like talking about Venus. Balance is Vata, Pitta and Kapha. If you don't know, Vata is very drying, Pitta is hot and fiery and moist, and Kapha is sluggish. So it brings it all into alignment. But in the knowledge base, as I say, different lectures on each of those. So it nourishes the blood. Well, I've got funny blood actually, so that's useful to know, Dad. Thank you. Yin and essence. So yin is the feminine aspect. It's very gentle and passive and receptive, and it harmonizes the heart and Shen. We just talked about Shen. So we're going to put all these in a blend in a minute. And so last but not least, the cards have told me that I should go for lavender, which I guess is probably just over the page. Still in the pinks, as you can see. Oh, I remember this one too. Cover them up, cover them up. Can you see? There we go. Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When you breathe me, dilly dilly, softly you dream. Anger and grief, dilly dilly, softly drift by. Worries and hurts, dilly dilly, kiss them goodbye. When you feel tense, dilly dilly, look for the bees. See how they buzz, dilly dilly, resting with ease. Learn from their hum, dilly dilly, for they all know. Learning to rest, dilly dilly, helps you to grow. Breathe in the scent, dilly dilly, lavender's light. Calm your stressed mind, honey, honey, surrender the fight. Release cares and worries, dilly dilly, I help you to see. Life is so good, dilly dilly, just let it be. Okay, I'm going to let them flow, not force them. This helps, this really helps, you know. I've got to tell you, when I was helping Clary do this, he was sending me his notes, and every time they came across it, I was like, oh my goodness, I've got to do the cards. These are really hard. I didn't like my poems at all. Really found them difficult to do, and really I just wanted to be writing my Melissa book, which I kind of still do, but I'm feeling a bit happier. Now I've got the cards in my hands and I can see them because they really help. Honestly, they really, really help. So, and of course I might be biased because it's my words talking back to me, but hearing the plant and seeing it written down, it's very, very helpful. So, actually I've probably skipped the most valuable part of the process for speed. But when you turn out your cards, if you have got the oils, I would sit and breathe the oil as you read the poem. And that's very difficult to do on this camera like this, but because then you will really hear, you'll have that connection with the plant. It will open it up to you. So top to middle note, as I say, Clary's going to talk to us about the blending. Water, we've just talked about how that finds ways, effortlessly finds gaps to do things, doesn't force it, just gets around any obstacle. Heart chakra again. Mercury, communication, data, information. Yeah, that's very mercurial medicine. We'll talk about that. I know there's a very interesting lecture about Mercury. I originally wrote the Mercury ropes for the pain practitioner program. And so these are quite detailed lectures, about half an hour long, the medical astrology ones, because of course that's my passion. Neutral to cool is the action. Yeah, cooling like the roses. Activates chi. Now again, we'll talk about chi in the knowledge base, but basically it's the life force. You know how we said we talked about Shen? Well, if Shen doesn't have adequate chi forcing it through, then it becomes disrupted. And I always think about it feeling like you're treading water. So the activation of chi calms Shen or nourishes Shen or raises Shen, depending on which essential oil it is. It aggravates Vata. So But yes, this is one of my favourite nags. So the world tells you to put lavender essential oil into every massage oil, into your moisturiser, into your bath. So it aggravates Vata. People, it will dry you out. That is how you get dry skin. Aggravates Vata, makes you a bit vapid, a bit dreamy. So all of the time you're like, you know, like the dreamers that wander around on a cloud. If you're not careful, too much lavender makes you that. Pacifies kapha, so it stops you feeling sluggish, stops you feeling heavy. It's not really directly indicated for constipation, but that shift of energy through kapha would release not only constipation but congestion in the sinuses. And pacifies pitta. Well, pitta is hot, so it's calming. It reduces inflammation. Anything that's red, hot, angry, it'll calm it down. So there we go. So first I've got my smelly stick, and really this is only because then I can stick it down my top and you won't be able to see it. So we could use aroma pendants, we could use massage oil, sniffy sticks, whatever. This is just what works for me, and that's the most important thing, that it's the thing that works for you. So cedarwood Virginian is a fast oil, if I remember rightly. So this is quite a thin distillation. Ooh. And then we'll mop up everything off the table. Dip it up, wipe it up. Oh, it's so beautiful, it's smoky. It's beautiful, and I can tell you the lecture is about tapping into your ancestral line, and given that my ancestral line is full of wizards and witches, that's very helpful. Lots of plant healers coming to my aid. So a bit of lavender, warm the bottle. You'll notice I cover the thing. It's not because I'm covering the labels, although it's because I can't be bothered going, don't ask me which oils I use, but it's more because it's very cold in this shed, so things get stiff, especially myrrh. Goodness me, when we come to do the myrrh video, I'll have to warm it up 3 weeks before. And then beautiful, beautiful rose. Look at the colour of that, beautiful. It's my favourite bit, you know, was it waiting for it to come out, just seeing the colour. Have I got the nerve to let it drop? I have. Go on, mix, 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 blend. You know, whenever I try and do videos, I always want to have the image of oils mixing, and it nobody ever quite videos that effectively. I think it would be beautiful. Look at that. Oh my goodness, that is sheer heaven. Just beautiful. So yeah, if you obviously want to buy the cards, there's a link underneath that tells you where to get them from. But also, if you want to use the knowledge base, there's a link through to that too. And goodness me, when you start to smell that and you feel all the knowledge base opening up all the different shifts in the body and how they move and how they're executing through the physical body, it's really extraordinary. It's a whole new layer to plant medicine. So there we go. That is how to do the blending. Can't wait for you to watch Gerglo talk about proper blending in a minute. I hope you found that interesting. Just before we move on to the safety, I've just picked out a couple of quotations from people's work that I love, that I thought you would find interesting. So first of all, Gabriel Moje. He describes how Clary Sage is indicated for the kind of nervous anxiety and depression that manifests as changeable moods, indecision, being emotionally confused, and it helps us regain our compass for the work we should be doing in our life. And then Robbie Zeck, who also has her own beautiful cards, Blossoming Heart cards. This is from her Blossoming Heart book. She explains that Clary Sage switches on the inner lights, caresses the creative mind, awakens your sensory perception, and broadens your intuitive horizons. Both of those are beautiful, aren't they? And I love the way that it just matches what I've said completely, just written in a different way. I love my job. I love it. So, safety, right. So, first of all, it's a very easy oil to use. Safe for children, safe for cats and dogs. In fact, lovely for cats and dogs, because it's not quite as boozy as cat mint, you know, catnip, how it makes them euphoric. But you watch, they do love to rub themselves against the plant. And it's just, they just go sleep, you know. In fact, fireworks, somebody keeps letting fireworks off near me, and there's no reason for it. It's the end of July. What's that about? There's no reason. But some clary sage and vetiver, and my dog is quiet. So very good oil to use. We would use in a maximum dilution of 3%. As I say, it is safe in breastfeeding. We talked about that. And we can put compresses on the boobs, or make a little bit of a cream to go on the outside too. If you wanted to, you could make a clary sage tea, but between you and I, it's not nice. We've tried that. We're not doing it again. So the essential oil is very, very useful. Remember what I said about we don't want to use it before week 37 at all. Remember what it does. It's a uterine tonic. So what it will ask the uterus to do is to tone up and make contractions, right? In the context of labour, that's very helpful because the contractions become stronger. But what we don't want to do is ask it to dispel the fetus too early. Please let me stress this to you. I've been there. I've had 3 babies. I know what it's like. I'm tremendously good at labour. I'm useless at pregnancy. I hated being pregnant. As a woman, I'm ashamed to say that, but I hated it. I know what you're going through, that you want that baby out. All you're going to do is slow down the labour. Don't listen to anybody else. Stop doing it. When the labour goes, the midwife goes, come on, we're there, then get it out. Not people. Why would you use it in children? Sleep. Very good for sleep. Very good for children who are anxious and depressed, although I would probably use myrtle as a better substitute, or maybe spearmint. But yeah, if you want them to go to sleep. Obviously, moody teenagers, hello clary sage. Beautiful, beautiful. So that's the safety. I am now going to, by the magic of modern technology, send you to Budapest. And I am going to get the master to show us how to blend clary sage. Now, between you and I, he is so much a better blender than I am. But this is so much in my healing clique. I can do this oil. So I might go to sleep in this class, but you carry on. And I'll see you
This is the blending video part for clary sage. And in the morning when I was preparing for shooting these videos that I'm going to do today, I smelled all the oils and I started with clary sage. And I tell you that just a few weeks ago I was making some distillation with my friend Danida in the deep down in Hungary in his distillation workshop. And he has a plantation of clary sage. So when you wake up in the morning, early morning, even like 6 o'clock in the morning, you have his place covered with clary sage and all that beautiful, beautiful smell of clary sage just giving off all the aromatic molecules in the air. Now, clary sage, all right, let's look at the cards, and I think it is an appropriate and beautiful illustration of clary sage. And the keyword is clairvoyance, and no wonder, because back in ancient times, people used it for different things. The plant, they used it for different things. Clary sage means like, comes from Latin, like clear or mind or anyways, like in England, as far as I know, in the Middle Ages, they were making beer with clary sage because they believed it had the kind of visionary. It's a little bit people, I believe now, the modern days, that when people smoke weed, they have their visions. So they got like luminous from beer cooked with clary sage. All right. So what do we make clary sage essential oil from? Basically, from the flowers and the leaves as well, or rather put it like the flowering tops. And it is a very interesting plant because it's actually biannual. So you sow the seeds, and then the plant grows. But the next year it's not going to grow. So you have to have the seeds and then replant them a year after. And this is how you can multiply your plantation. Now, when do we pick clary sage for distillation? Because it is actually distilled by steam most of the times. Obviously, they make different extraction methods as well, but the most usually is steam distillation. So it is a very specific time that you have to pick, and rather very early, about 2-3 in the morning, when you have to wake up and then harvest clary sage for distillation, because that's when it's full of essential oil and then it's really strong. Now, when we are talking about blending, like just describing the aroma, I should say it is a very rich aroma, clary sage. How could I describe it? Because in many words, like, okay, let's pick one. Sweet. You could say earthy. You could say a little bit nutty, like walnut resembling. Slightly animalistic, I could call it. And but obviously, because it's a floral, so it is a floral oil as well. Now, if you look at the composition of clary sage essential oil, the main constituents are linaloyl acetate and linalool, which is very, very close to the essential oil composition of lavender, true lavender. But there's also one minute component, which is called sclareol, which gives that, reminiscent or distinguishing clary sage aroma that just gives you that. I don't know even how to describe it. A lot of people really, I should probably improve my, aroma lexicon to actually describe it more in words. Now, if we are talking about the blending note, it is definitely a middle note. And it blends well with a lot of essential oils very well. For example, most of the citruses, so like sweet orange, mandarin, grapefruits, lemon, but it also blends well with like juniper berry, then it, also with some of the spices like black pepper, coriander, cardamom. It gives like a very unique blend when you blend these spices with clary sage. But it also blends well with some of the woods like Atlas cedar wood or even sandalwood sometimes. You can add it to as a beautiful combination if you use like lavender, Roman chamomile, and clary sage. But it also blends well with geranium, and then, as I said, like lavender and most of lavandins, so like the hybrid lavenders. So just a few words about safety. It is not sensitizing, it is not phototoxic, although, as we mentioned in our other videos, be careful when using it in the first 2 trimesters when you're pregnant, expecting a baby, because it is a true relaxant oil. So we don't want you to relax your internal muscles, like your womb, very much before you want to give birth. But when you have before giving birth, or it is actually during giving birth, it is a great oil because it's a muscle relaxant. so it helps ease your muscles, and then helps in easier delivery. Besides, calming and stress relieving and anti-anxiety oil. So Clary sage, because it is a special oil, they used it, for example, in the tobacco industry back in, back a couple of decades ago, or even like 100 years ago, added it to tobacco. So the tobacco industry used it, and also it was extremely, used in the perfumery industry. I think this is my personal view. It is a absolute female oil. I love it myself because I love most of the essential oils, but I think it's mostly attractive to women. This is my experience. So if you like Clary sage, and if you want to know more about it, just go on and watch the video and come back and then watch our Recipe Hub items that we are going to put on in our Recipe Hub channel. And I'll see you there next time. And until that, my usual motto is happy planning.
As ever, he is the maestro. I love watching his videos. I do the editing and I sit there and I write down all of those notes to go onto the screen, and I go, I wish I'd said that, I wish I'd said that, I wish I'd said that. So I hope that you've enjoyed being with us. Now, just want to tell you a little bit about our new product that's coming out this month, which is called the Tongue of the Trees Recipe Hub. So in this video, we've talked about, what have we talked about? We've talked about PMS. We've talked about how to reduce blood pressure. We have talked about restless legs. We've talked about breastfeeding. We've talked about labour. We've talked about don't drink Clary sage. We've talked about lots of aspects. So you might say, well, I'm extremely excited now to think I know what to do, and then go, actually, I don't know what to do. Well, I've got that covered. So for months and months, Gagli and I have been working on what's called the Recipe Hub, which now has just under 200 recipes in there for you. The recipes that we have talked about, they are in there, and there's a little video of me or Gagli telling you exactly how to make it, how many drops, so the dilution's correct, how many, make sure that the safety is correct. So we're going through and we're saying, if you've got this problem, you can't use it, that problem, this problem. We've done all of that for you. We've blended it with other lovely oils for you, so that you have exactly the right amount of information at your fingertips for exactly where you want it. So there is a link below in the blog for the Recipe Hub. Please go and have a look at it. I can tell you that it is a monthly subscription, £5.99 a month, and every month we will be adding more. So this month we have four new oils going in, and most of them have around about 8 recipes in there, and obviously we add to it as they come up in other ones. So for example, PMS, I will tell you, has got lavender, geranium and clary sage in one of the recipes. There's a few recipes for different conditions, lots of anxiety ones, lots of depression ones, but lavender, geranium, clary sage, you can see the video in the lavender section, the clary sage section and the geranium section. And also we have put them together in condition as well, so you can look and say, right, I want to look in gynecology, right, I know what I want. I can look in neurological stuff. where I want. So if the stuff that you were interested in was the energetic stuff, where we talked about the planetary medicine, the Ayurvedic, the traditional Chinese medicine, you want to get the knowledge base. If you just want to know, right, I want to know all the safety, all of the stuff, all of the different main effects an essential oil has, all of the correct dilution, you want the recipe hub. And if you want to make me happy, you want both. So anyway, go and have a look, see what we've done for you. And thank you for being with me this month on What is Clary Sage Essential Oil Good For?